All right, so this is me. This is a bad picture of me. I'm Nir Kaufman. I'm a Google developer expert in web technologies, and I'm the Angular guy. I'm also arranging those kind of communities, events, and I'm working for a company named 500 Tech, and all that we are doing is basically front-end. So currently we're working very intensive with React, of course, React Native, and Angular. If you like, you can check my meetup. You'll find some interesting stuff there. I'm not here to talk about myself, but I want to take advantage of this stage, if you don't mind, if it's okay with you, because there is some very bad things that going out there in the world, and I think we should all take a second and talk about this group that I'm volunteering. And this is the AWU, and this is Anonymous Windows Users. So if you were a victim of Windows Vista, please talk with me later. No, the only worser than Windows Vista is those guys. But you can call this number. It's totally anonymous. Yeah. No. Guys, come on. It's not funny. People actually doing PHP. I mean, let's put it in proportions. Let's dive in because I don't have too much time and I don't want to spend it. What does this slides mean? Who knows? React. Another guess? It means nothing because we can't learn nothing. We can't actually learn nothing from slides. That's the reason I want to do some live coding with you. That probably is going to fail, but that's the fun of it. So just to make sure that everyone want to see live coding, let's do a quick, very highly tech stuff. Put your smartphone, please, in front of you, all of you, please. Now, because you are in this zone, if you press 1, the slides will go higher, and if you press 2, the code will go higher. Please press the buttons. I'm serious, guys. 1 and 2. Right? This is high tech. This is high tech, yeah? All right, so we go for code. Who actually pressed the button? No one, huh? Kidding with me. Okay. So we are going for live coding. So what I'm going to do an ng. How many of you Angular developers? Yeah. So all the rest, doing all the rest. All right. So this is the Angular CLI. This is how we build production-ready apps. So ng new, let's call it just a demo for now. I'm going to create a minimal Angular project using the CLI. And while it's installing all the dependencies, what I'm going to do is open WebStorm. Let's open this folder. Go to my desktop. Demo, here it is. Just make sure that everyone can see the code. Wait a second. Yep. Let's open up a component just to make sure. Can you see the code? Yep. All right. So we will wait for the dependency to download. Repstorm start the indexing. I'm going to clear all of this template and just write something like hello Redux. How many of you use Redux? Doesn't matter if it's all right. And the guys from how many of you use Angular and NGRX? Few. Good. So I have something to talk about. Okay. So this is a very basic Angular app. I'm going to type npm start to run the ng-serve. Go back to the browser, localhost 4200, and we've got an app. Yeah. All right, cool. So it's going to be a live coding session. I'm going to talk a little bit about Redux and about how I use Redux with Angular using the NGRX library. But we need to watch a little few slides just to make sure that all of us are on the same line. So let's do a very, very, very quick Redux 101. Ready? All right, cool. Redux, single source of truth. We keep all the state of our application in a single store, one database. The state is read-only. The state of our application is an immutable object, which means that It can't be changed. If we want to change it, we need to emit an event. And after we emit an event, the only way to actually recalculate the state is using something we call pure function, which is just a pure function. This was Redux in 30 seconds. It's nothing new to the front end. It's depends on the very antique design patterns from the server-side enterprise buzzword world. This is Redux in a diagram. This is Redux for me in one line of code. Take the state, take an event, and please give me a new state. All right? Are we okay with Redux 101? You want to see some more stuff? I've got, look at this one. This is really nice. This is a circle. The UI event updated the store, get the state, and if we want to interfere this event on his way to the store because we want to do some async stuff and side effects, so we can just catch it in his way to the store and do something with it. Cool? Yep, all right. So the store is the trick of Redux, and the store of Redux is very simple. Get state, dispatch an action, subscribe with the callback. And if you want to build your own Redux.js, it will probably take you something like, I don't know, less than a minute. So if I just open a file and I want to create my own Redux, it's probably going to be, I want to do a create store function, that accepts some kind of a reducer function. Yep, reducer, right? And holds the state. And then I can do a get state. Yeah, I got a problem with I can do a get state and just return the state. Yep. Should be a function. All right. And we can do a dispatch an action. Dispatch. Yeah. Dispatch an action. So you can dispatch an event, and I can take this event and recalculate my state. So the state will be equal to the function you just gave me. I'll paste the current state, I'll take your action, and this is basically Redux. If you open up the Redux.js source code, you'll find these lines in the core of it. All right? Cool? Great. So let's move forward. So if we want to start build something with Angular, let's create a nice application really quick. Let's take like 2 minutes to build something. So I'm going to use a static template, which I've got right here. Static, plain HTML and CSS. It's the famous to-do list app. I don't want to get too sophisticated, just to learn about Redux. So I'm going to throw some CSS to my project, and then I'm going to take some HTML as well. So I've got here static HTML. Let's open it up. Come on, VS Code. Microsoft. Yeah. I'm going to take some HTML. I'm going to throw this HTML to my app component, and we'll get an app, probably. Yep, so we've got a to-do app. Very simple, but not very component-oriented, because you see my template is very big. So let's use the CLI real quick and generate some demo app that we can work with. So I'm going to do ng generate component. I'm going to build a library named UI. Let's build a header. Yeah, I'm doing my best, but it's unstable, like React Native. All right. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking loudly. Yeah. ng generate a component named header. Let's generate a list. Let's generate an item. And let's generate footer. Right, so right now in my app I've got UI, I've got a set of components, And I can come here to my app component and just replace all this stuff with nicer components like this. Here I want to put the app header and put all of this right there. Yep, almost. I've got a feeling of a typo. No. App header is not cooperating. Yeah, live coding. Right. I'll put the template of the header right here inside the header component. I think I know why it's WebStorm. And back to my app component, I will take all of this, which represent the list, and I just throw it away to an app list component. Yeah, something went wrong with the auto completion, so I can't use my shortcuts. And back to the app components, let's replace the footer with an app footer component. Yeah, I know. It's not very stable. Let's try. Right, can you see it? Cool. I'll put everything in my footer component. Where is the footer? And I think it's enough for now. I can go inside my my app list component and just take this item and take it away and use my item component. So now, hopefully, my app component looks much nicer, and we've got a demo app that we can work with. Are we okay with this? Right, let's see that it's actually working. Yeah, nothing changed, no errors, we're good to go. So, when we're talking about state management, when we're talking about Redux in general and Angular, usually the most common popular library called NGRX. Now, NGRX, it's an implementation of the Redux design pattern using the RxJS library. But we don't need to talk too much about NGRX. I want to show you just one slide, which is this one. This is the flow that I'm going to implement. In order to implement the pattern of state management, we need to construct an event, an action, we need to dispatch it, then we need to process this action, and this process is where all of your business logic is actually sitting. So I'm processing this event until it's ready and contains everything it needs. And in the end of this pipe, there is a function that applies this action to my state. That's it. Cool? So we need to construct an action, dispatch it, process it, and put it on the state. You can see there is no UI because it doesn't really matter who dispatching or constructing the action. It can be the server, it can be the client, it can be whatever. You can be connected to a WebSocket and just, take messages and construct actions. Cool? All right. To get started, we will do some npm installs. So I prepare here all the npm install because I don't want to waste precious time. I'm going to npm install ngrx store, ngrx effects, we'll talk about it, and the one that I always forget how to spell, ngrx store devtools. All right, just with npmi. Maybe I'll disconnect this. All right, guys. Some dependencies, the ngrx library with ngrx devtools and ngrx library we named effects, which will be this pipe of processing, the middlewares, where the actual business logic sits. So I've got everything I need, and the reason I put a library named UI, because I'm going to create another one named logic. I want to make sure that we understand that the logic is completely separate from our view layer. Inside the logic, I'm going to create a file. Let's call this file list actions, because in Redux, in event-based system, it's all about the event. Let's remember so I can share the code later. Let's make it much cleaner. All right, so we've got a list, we've got a to-do list. Let's implement just a simple event. So I'll create a const, add item, can be a string, and now I'm going to create a class that knows how to construct an add item action. So add item, it will implement the action interface from NGRX. The action interface forced me that each action will include a type, and this type can be constant, final. So I use the read-only keyword, and I will use this string. If I want to construct an add item, I want to hold here a public item. Maybe we can even create an interface for an item, so we know that we've got a title, string, and let's do a completed boolean. So I want a public item of type item. And for construction, you will paste me a title of type string, and I will take this item, and it will equals to a new object with a title and a completed. Are we okay with this code? Simple JavaScript. No Angular, nothing, just an interface I took from NGRX, which is optional. So I can reuse this piece of code in other technologies. So here I'm declare the action and how to construct. Cool. I've got an action. Now I'm going to build a simple function, a simple pure function that know how to take the payload, the item from this event, and put it on my application state, on my store. Cool? I wanted to put it inside the logic because that's the whole idea, so let's just move it. So again, right here I'm going to create, let's call it a list reducer. And the list reducer, as I said, is a simple function that will accept the list and the action. If you see any typo, please let me know before my code breaks. Please be my compiler. And right here, I'm going to switch on the action type. And in case the action is add item, I want to return a brand new array, a brand new list, which contains everything that I had before on this list with the action item. By default, I'll just return the same reference, the same list. Are we okay with this piece of code? Now, 15 minutes. I've got my watch. It's 15 minutes. Are we okay with this? All right. So let's open. All right. So we've got an action. I've got a reducer. All I got to do now is just build my store and connect it to the UI. So I'm going back to my app module. And right here, what I'm going to do is to import the store module from NGRX. I'm going to initialize it with reducers. Reducers are the functions that I just built, but because there's going to be a lot of reducers, a lot of small functions that recalculate my state tree, I want to combine them together in one object. So I'm going to create a const named reducers, and say that I've got a list and the list getting processed by the list reducer. So if I got more things on my state and more functions, I can just pass it. Right here in my store module, I'm going to pass the list reducer. I want to be able to debug all those events that I'm going to pass away in my app. So I'm going to ask for the dev tool, the store dev tool module. Store dev tool? Let's forget his name. Of course no? You sure? I just said that I always forgot to, no? I didn't press the enter key, yeah. It's important, always press the enter key, always, all right? This is a real life tip, don't know. That's the reason I'm here, to share with you this knowledge of pressing enter. Start. You're laughing, but next time, stare dev tool module, I'm initialize it with instruments. So if I go back to my view right now, I can use the Redux extension, and I'm expect to see my state, which I don't see, but I will. Live coding. Don't worry, I've got a backup. You'll get everything I promised. You'll get it. Right. So it's fighting against me. Store DevTool module, instrument, everything seems to be fine, but sometimes you just need to restart Webpack. Hopefully it will fix the problem. Anyway, we will move forward. I've got my store, I've got my reducers, I've got my actions, I've got the functions to know how to deal with the actions. Now I want to connect everything together, go back to my presentation layer, and start to do something useful. The first thing I'm going to do is head to the component who's in charge to creating and accepting user input to create an item, which is the header component. Here I'm going to bind to the key down event, the key down enter event, because I only care about the key down. I'm going to ask for the store. And usually I build an interface that describes how my states looks like. I will create an add item method that will just delegate to this store dispatch new add item. And I need to pass this add item a title. So if we're talking about the flow, I wrote a class how to construct the action, and now I'm using it. I'm dispatching this action. And when you press enter, I'm going to call this add item, pass it the event, target, value. So if everything went like it should, right now, you can see my state, which is empty. If I press enter, you can see that I dispatch an add item action. And this add item, this is the type, this is the title, and this is the actual event. All right? Cool? So I'm dispatching events. I should see my state, but I think I get some kind of issue. So I don't know why I can't see it. But I don't really care right now. All right? But as you can see, my state is building up. Cool? Which component is responsible for displaying the list? The list component. So I'm going to do the other side. I'm going back to my code. I'm going to the list component. And the list component, right here, I've got another component, the app item component. And the app item component is only care about displaying one item. So I will define an input property. I'm going to pass this item from a higher order component. This component will accept an item as an input, and right here will render the item title. So this component actually is very reusable and doesn't know nothing about my app, nothing about Redux, nothing about nothing. Just give me an item and I will know how to render and how to display it. Back up to my list component. My list component needs to know about the list because I want to loop over the list and create an app item component. So again, I'm going to inject the store. Please give me the store, the NGRX store. I didn't create any interface, so it's going to be any. I can keep it private. I want to create public list so I can bind in my UI, let item of list. And this list, I'm going to use the store sorry, to select the list from my store. Now I'm subscribing to the list. Each time the list will change, this component will render the new list. And because this is an observable and this operation is async, I'm going to use a very cool feature of Angular. I use the async pipe. If you look at the template, ng4, please iterate each item of the list async, which means you can push me items and I will display it. I will pass each item to the item component for rendering. And if everything went like it should, except this DevTool that I don't know what happened to him, because I was expecting to see the state and I only see the chart. If everything went like expected, now almost, you see, Nir, and nothing happened. Excuse me? Oh, thank you. Now you're saying? Huh. You've seen it before. Where is it? Of course. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for helping me with this live demo. Next time, only slides. Next time I'm here, only slides. 100 slides and videos of demo, yeah. Where? In item component? No. You ask for it, you will get it. Where is it? Oh, list component, yeah. Let's complete this demo. Where? 20? This store? This list, thank you. All right, so back here, probably now we'll see the state, which is an empty list. All right, here's my state, and I can dispatch action, and I can see my state changing, I can see a chain of events, and I can go back and forward, dispatch an action, play it all from the beginning, and I have a solid infrastructure for state management with Angular and NGRX. I know I've got a few seconds left. All right, don't worry. So if you use Redux, you probably wonder what's new. I mean, I didn't show you nothing really different between NGRX and the Redux that most of you, at least this part of the room, know how to use. So let me please open, because I don't have time to actually code it. I want to open the demo that I just prepared a few minutes before I went up, this NGRX demo, and show you the main difference. So the main difference that in NGRX, you don't have any middlewares, which means that if I'm dispatching an action and I want this action to produce side effects, I want to catch this action, produce other actions, maybe go to the server, I don't have any entity named middleware. In NGRX, it's a little bit different. Now you can see the same application. I've got a fetch item construct action. I'm doing a fetch item action. If I go back to the browser, you'll see an error, which is of course part of part of the deal. Fetch items, action. But these fetch items should be produce a API call for the server. So in NGRX, and this is I think the most notable. Let's fix it. Probably it will fix the browser as well. Wait a second. Yep. All right. So you can see now that after 3 seconds, I've got the fetch event and item success. So I didn't fire the item success. What happened is this class is a class, an injectable service. I use the HTTP service, the HTTP client of Angular, and I'm using the actions observable from NGRX. The actions let me hook into the action pipes. And what I'm doing here is taking this action, selecting only the type that I'm interested in, fetch items, and I replaced this observable with an HTTP GET observable. When it resolved, it will fire another action, item success. So in NGRX, we create side effects. We create the method's name effects. You can hook to the action pipe, and then you can do whatever you want with them. Transform them, produce another actions, and this is the main difference. And you create as many as you like. Most of the business logic will be sitting here. So let's talk about the future. I've got here a nice slides for you with all the reference and the code and everything you need. I've got the sample code on GitHub. But most important thing, who was the one who helped me with the app module? You're an Angular developer? You heard about NG Poland next week? We'll talk about this later. This is a free book. Please Google it, the complete Redux book. You'll find it, it's the only one. Something that we wrote, contains a lot of information. Hope you enjoyed this live demo. And if you like, yeah, this is the most important one. But we lost it completely. And if you like to see some more stuff, I'm still here. And we've got an after party. So I will more happy to share with you some more information about real projects that I did with NGRX, without all this pressures of live coding and you not telling me that my code is wrong and waiting for me to falling apart. But I hope you enjoyed. So thank you very much. If you've got some questions, catch me later.
Now, guys, it's time for your questions.
Thank you for your speech. Do you recommend to use Redux in like all cases of application?
No, absolutely no.
So just a highly loaded, states, instances with much states, count.
I recommend to use the Redux principles in most applications. It shouldn't be the default. If you've got a simple app, if you've got a CRUD app, if you've got a very simple model, the state is not changing too much events. You can start by implementing the ideas of Redux because Angular worked with this very well. You can build a service and you can use immutable data structures without all of this overhead because what you just send is an overhead. I mean, it's a simple to-do list. I could write it in 4 lines of code. Simple service, simple component, and that's it. But this is the infrastructure for something much more complicated. And if someone wants to see, I can show it here, but I can show it right after my talk. I've got a real project on my laptop, a real production grade project, so you can see and you can understand the benefits. But don't make it the default.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Do you have an experience of migrating existing application without store management to NGRX?
From plain Redux to NGRX?
No, without any state management. Like
Yes,
plain
yes.
Angular.
Yes, a lot. Yeah.
So what advices can you give from which we should start?
Advil. It's something I use for headache. It's a lot of work, but it starts with refactoring, but it's possible. You just need a plan, just a strategy. There is no simple questions for this. It really depends how much your app is complicated. So sorry, it's not a magic answer this time. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yes, thank you. Maybe my question is very naive, I don't know.
Go for it.
I don't get it. What main benefits of Redux architecture in project? We have
One.
One. Okay.
The most important benefit, for my opinion. Overhead, a lot of code, a lot of complex flow when you need to do things simple. All of these are cons of this pattern. But in the end of the day, what you've got a very, very complicated business logic. You can open up the debugger, and you can use this time traveling concept, and I can see exactly what happened in my app, and I can debug the flow like an automated test, and I think that this is the only reason to implement such a huge pattern on the front end. Because from my own real experience, we had situations where the client called us and told us something went wrong. I went to this page, I don't see the correct data. And we logged just the actions. And then we came back to our workstations, you just play the actions, and because this pattern is based on events and pure functions, we can reproduce the entire flow and find the correct event that fetched the wrong data. And I think this is the main, if not the only reason to implement this pattern, from our opinion.
Thank you.
Welcome.